Well, you talk about maximizing talent, and I know they lost, but gosh darn it, Boise State's season, I think, is going to go down as one of the more special seasons in college football history, at least to me. We get to watch one of the most special players in college football history, Ashton Jeanty, run all over the place. Penn State wins 31-14, not to bury the lead, not to take the shine off of the Nittany Lions win. James Franklin beats a top 10 team. He wins a game in a big moment on the road across country. I mean, there were a lot of things going against Penn State, right? I feel like a lot of the country was rooting against Penn State because they wanted to see James Franklin fail and Boise State succeed. And I think this game was closer than the final score. Penn State ultimately pulls away late. They score the only touchdown in the fourth quarter. They got out to the fast start, 14-0. And you and I talked about that in the pregame show. Boise could not allow Penn State to strike first. Certainly not twice. Once they got down 14-0, it started to feel like it might be getting late early with as fierce as that Penn State defense was. But all of that to say, I let off the show with it. I still had a good time watching this game. I thought it was a competitive match. I loved how hard Boise played. Coming in here to this Fiesta Bowl, they hadn't lost in Glendale. They were, 4-0, 3-0, 4-0 in Fiesta Bowls. So, I mean, this was the Boise State Bowl. This was their home field. And Penn State was able to come in and say, nope, we're the better team and we're going to control this. I was really impressed with what I saw from Penn State, but I still thoroughly was able to enjoy and celebrate, I think, what Boise State put on the field as well.
Penn State had a few too many athletes in the end. And just like we talked about in the preview show, I wasn't worried about Boise State between the 20s, between the 30s as much, but once they got into scoring position, it just really fell off for them. They missed a couple field goals, had the 3 second half interceptions from Maddox Madsen, and Ashton Jeanty was contained for the most part once he got inside the 20s. And that's when the Penn State defense really tightens up. That's when an athletic advantage really becomes apparent. You can scheme open some big plays in between the 20s, but once you get in that red zone and in that scoring position, it gets really difficult when you're outmanned and out athleted. So yeah, but credit to Boise State for their season, credit for hanging tough, and credit for making it a game. It was in doubt going into the fourth quarter. And I think for most college football fans, that was more than enough. Obviously, there were some whiners that said, just looked at the final score, and there's the meme of, oh, I'm going to just look at box scores and argue with people on the internet. But I was really impressed with Boise State. Penn State, on the other hand, to talk about who won the game, do we feel like they have enough going for them that we actually count them as a national championship contender? Are you treating them as a semifinal participant or someone who actually has? Can you paint the picture, I guess, of a Penn State national championship at this point?
Oh, I think I'm with you. Getting them to the national championship, just like you could get Notre Dame to the national championship. I think in my mind, there's a world where I see the Fighting Irish hoisting a national championship trophy. I don't know that I could say the same for Penn State. And I don't really have a great reason why necessarily, but I just don't know that they have the pizzazz. I don't know that they have the it factor, right? They've got a great
What's
defense.
The thing that they're going to do that another team, a Notre Dame, a Texas, and Ohio State just can't counter? I can't answer that question.
And it was funny because I was having a discussion with a family friend who just asked me, knew I did a college football show and said, do you watch that Drew Aller kid? Like, what do you think of him? And, the box score, it's a Drew Aller box score. It's 13-25 for 171 and 3 touchdowns. His QBR was at 44.9. Like, the stats did not like Drew Aller. And yet, when I watch him play, like, I see all the intangibles of an NFL quarterback. He's got pocket presence. He's got a strong arm. He's got a high football IQ. He does a lot of the little things the right way. It just doesn't seem to manifest itself in big time numbers, right? And I know they've got Tyler Warren, who 63 catches and 2 touchdowns. Like, he was a nightmare for Boise State trying to defend. That was a real issue, especially late. They don't have the wide receiver core. I think that's going to be able to separate and really make these secondaries, whoever they end up playing, whether, after, if they were to get through Notre Dame, they don't have a wide receiver core that's going to hurt Ohio State or Texas. So then you've got to look at the ground game, and they've got a good ground game, a good offensive line. They've got Allen and Singleton that, they ran for 216 yards as a team. But can you beat Texas or beat Ohio State just running the football? Like, I don't know if you can. So they're the one team in this field. I'm not going to say they don't belong, but they
had the easiest path to get here by far.
They did.
And I think they're the hardest picture to paint of actually being someone that you could see hoisting the trophy on January 20th.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. Again, all credit to James Franklin for, it doesn't matter who they've had to play, they've gotten here, right? The narrative coming in was it doesn't matter who that team is, as long as they've got a certain little number next to the name, Franklin can't win it. And he's proven them wrong, obviously, by beating SMU and by beating Boise State here. I do think it's going to be different against Notre Dame. I think you're going to have to see that offensive line be special. And I think you're going to have to see Tyler Warren blocking a lot more. I know they've got another blocking tight end who kind of plays second fiddle to Warren. But the way that I saw Notre Dame get after the passer today against Georgia, they were coming from all over. That was one of the keys that I put in our Sugar Bowl snapshot over on Twitter. Shameless plug to follow us at 3TechPod. Notre Dame had to mix up the defensive looks, because as shaky as Georgia had been, you can't just line up 4, line up 5, and consistently get to the quarterback. Georgia's got enough competency at wide receiver to create some separation. And you saw that with Arian Smith a couple times today. You saw that with Oscar Delp a couple times today. But what I thought Al Golden did so well was he brought pressure from all different kinds of places. There were stunts, there were loops, there were tricks up the middle. And that offensive line looked lost facing the Fighting Irish. And so I think if Penn State's offensive line is going to learn anything from this week, you had better be buttoned up front. Because if Allard doesn't have time to pass, if they can't establish running lanes, it may still be a defensive rock fight, but Penn State's going to get suffocated out of that, out of the Orange Bowl.
And and if the offense is clicking as well for Notre Dame, I think I trust their offense a little bit more at this point than a Penn State offense that's done fine and put up points, but it's kind of been because their defense has set them up a lot of times. So at least the first 2 rounds. So should be a good game. I'm really excited to see that Orange Bowl game between Notre Dame and Penn State. But yeah, I really have a hard time painting the picture. I could maybe get Penn State to the national championship game, but I have a really hard time seeing them overcoming Ohio State or Texas. We've seen them against Ohio State for a decade now, James Franklin. So I guess selfishly, I might be rooting for Notre Dame in the Orange Bowl to give us a little bit more novelty in that championship matchup.
Sure. I agree with that. Just to close the book on Ashton Jeanty, you mentioned box score folks arguing on Twitter. The amount of people that said that, Ashton Jeanty finally played a big boy defensive line and look at the numbers. He got stuffed. To that crowd, I say you were at a New Year's Eve party. I say you were drunk at the bar.
Yep.
You were not watching that game. Ashton Jeanty forced 16 missed tackles against a top 5 rushing defense in the country, a team that is known for their front 7, that has a proud tradition with linebackers and tackling. He forced 16 missed tackles in a single game, Trey. By the other side of the card, Nicholas Singleton, who's been the more effective runner, I believe, over Katron Allen, he's forced 23 missed tackles all season. Jeanty almost got there in a single game. Ashton Jeanty is one of the most special players we've ever seen in college football. For folks to be still hating on him, on Cam Scattaboo, just at the expense, and to say, no, this validates Travis Hunter, I'm at a loss for words. I really am. I don't think you understand what you're watching. And furthermore, I think, it's just the internet culture where, well, if I'm going to support one person, it means I have to tear down somebody else. Why can't we just enjoy excellent play in college football. Like, why can't we just say, you know what, Travis Hunter, Ashton Genty, Cam Scadaboo, all existing in the same year? I mean, what a treat. What an absolute treat that we as the viewers got. But the Genty slander has not been tolerated on this show all year long. His career, incredibly special for him to stay at Boise State. I'm so proud of that kid, from a local kid here from North Texas, Frisco Lone Star. And he's going to be a really good running back in the NFL.
Absolutely. Can't wait to have him on a fantasy team or two next year. It's going to be really fun to stash him away, maybe get him. But you're absolutely right. There is a crowd, and there always will be a crowd. This is not me tooting my own horn. I am wrong way more often than I am correct.
We're wrong so much.
And that's why I celebrate when I'm correct, because it doesn't happen very often. But have the humility, or at least don't pretend like you know what you're watching if you're going to say those things about Ashton Genty, because we're all just kind of pointing and laughing at you at this point, and the joke is really on you. So if you enjoy that, if you enjoy just being a troll, that's fine. Like, there are those people in the world that just really love that, but we are laughing at you, not with you, just so you know.
I think that's well put.
Gracious, how about that?